So, not to be too dramatic, but today almost ate it in many ways. Low-key could have died. 100% my own fault. So, been surfing since I got on island about 2 months ago. Pretty quickly I jumped into it. I started surfing out at White Plains, and I had a buddy who already kind of knew what he was doing, so he showed me how to do it, and I quickly picked up on it, and it wasn't that big of a deal. It was pretty easy to catch on, at least for me. It did tire me out really bad, like the first couple of times, but I quickly caught on to it, and I've probably gone out maybe 6 times. So, I got my own board after a little bit, after the second time, and I was getting comfortable at least with that spot. So I hadn't been out to any other spots. So the waves there have been usually I guess they're 2 to 4 feet maybe. They're not very big waves. They're still fun to ride. It's nice to have it's fun to be out there. But it's considered, a beginner to intermediate spot. It's not anything crazy. So the same friend that I have been, who had taught me initially, he wanted to try and get some better spots, because how can you really progress unless you find some better spots, So we got this app called Surfline. So it's nothing against the app, but we didn't really know how to read it. We kind of found that out today in a huge way. So we checked out the Surfline app, and we were looking for some places that were a little bit more than where we had been at, which was 2 to 4 feet. And so we were looking for places that were reading slightly more than that, up to 6 feet. So we figured that a 6-foot wave would be something that we could take. So we found this spot that had some readings. It was out of Ala Moana, which is Waikiki area, and so we went out there with two other of our friends who hadn't surfed as much as us. We found a spot to drop in, and we saw the waves, and they looked big, and there were a bunch of people out there. But when I say that they looked big, they looked intimidating, but we weren't quite sure that they were bigger than what the readings on the app had said. we figured okay, that must be what a 6-foot wave looks like, because it's kind of hard to tell what they are. Turns out the readings on the app were for the back of the wave, not the face of the wave. So if you have a 6-foot back, you have a 12-foot face, and it's actually a 12-foot wave. So we were getting into an area that we didn't really know, but we should have seen the signs. This is where we start to look stupid. So we found the spot, got out there. We're about to go in the water, and there's a rescue jet ski that's bringing a kid back in, and he's not in bad shape or anything. He was just tired out there, and he's 11, but he's been surfing his whole life. And he comes back in. So we just sort of asked him about the spot, and he's like, "Oh, you guys know how to surf, right?" And we were like, "Yeah, at least at the one spot we had been at, we were fine. We were doing just fine, and catching waves and everything, it wasn't a big deal." And he's like, "You guys can hold your breath for a long time, right?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're pretty good swimmers and all that." And so the kid was like, "Oh yeah, you'll be fine." All right. So mistake number 1 was not seeing that the kid was brought in by a freaking rescue jet ski. That was the first mistake. Being well, if there's a rescue jet ski out there, maybe you might want to have a lot more just knowledge overall, a lot more time in the water than that. And so we paddled out there, and it was a ways to get out there. It was pretty far, and when we got out there, we started feeling the waves were significantly bigger than we had been on. Just the swells that we were catching, because we didn't get any of the the faces that you could actually start to think about riding or anything at all. We were not That was not what was going on. And we got around the group of surfers who were over there. And so one guy with a helmet on says, "Hey, newbies, you can't be over here. This is for experts only. You got to go over that way." And we were like, just kind of saw vaguely where he was pointing. We're like, "Oh, okay." Whatever. That dude's got a helmet on. He obviously knows what he's talking about. And also noticed that everybody had short boards. We had like 10-foot boards, and everybody had like really, really short boards out there, which I guess is apparently for cutting like bigger waves. We knew that, but like it didn't really register until we got out there that was the situation. And so we decide that we're gonna listen to this guy, and we start paddling kind of alongside the cut of where the waves are coming in. And we paddle for like 10 seconds. And then they got these buoys out there, and I immediately see this buoy like 50 yards from me shoot like 20 feet in the air. And I'm like, oh my God. Because like I wasn't that experienced, but I knew enough to know that there is a massive wave right there, and it's going to start breaking because of, the slant of it. I was like, this is going to start breaking right where we are. And sure enough, I'm just looking up at this wall of water coming in, and me and my buddy are like maybe like 10, 12 feet from each other, like paddling, and we see it, and we're like, okay, this is it. So I don't even know what happened, but the wave just straight up picks me up. I must have gotten the top end of the curve. I mean, threw me just forever in the water. I'm under the water for a good 10, maybe even 15 seconds, holding my breath, like just staying completely calm. Because I know at this point, I'm like completely out of control of the situation. Like, that's over for me. Like, not like I thought like for sure like I was dead or anything, but I just knew that there was nothing that I could do about the situation that I was in except for just hold my breath, just wait it out. And so I'm like under the water. I had taken some cheap sunglasses out there. Those were completely gone when I came up. But when I came up, I slammed into a board with my head, not hard enough to like thought I had a concussion or anything, but I bumped, I came up, I bumped into a board. I was thinking, the first thing polite me is thinking, man, I hope that's not somebody else's board, right? Because I didn't want to like come up under somebody else. Would be, I thought I'd look stupid, but that was the least of my worries right then. But it was my board. I obviously like had it tethered to me, so I saw my board. I just like get up and like just stoked that there's some oxygen, and I go up and I'm like getting on my board as quick as I can, just trying to recover. And then I look behind me, and there's another wave like the same size. And what's even scarier is the dude who told us to leave with the helmet on. I see him do this weird little duck thing, like dives under the water to escape the wave. And for like a split second, I'm looking over the water. I'm like, nobody is in front of this wave except for me. So there's wave number 2. It does like the exact same thing. Just like you're getting run over by like a truck of water. Just blast it out there. And same thing going under, and I'm like, the only thing I was thinking is like, hey, there's not that many more times this can happen, so I just gotta wait this one out too. And what happened, I knew from when we would come out there was like 2-3 periods that it was breaking before the waves were going flat, so I knew it could only really happen 2 times. Came back up, another wave comes in, significantly smaller, but still big enough. I caught that. I did not stand up on it, but coasted in. And guess what? My friend is right there, right where I coasted in. We're getting to like a much more shallow area where there's no waves, just annoying little ones that are going to screw you up from being able to paddle in. He's out there, and I come in, and we were both immediately like, dude, let's get the hell out of here. Like, this is not like this is not what we expected. This is for big kids only. But yeah, we didn't know, but we should have seen the signs. We thought, and we thought the only way to get better was to just go out there and experience it. And we definitely didn't do enough research into how to actually read, our information on how big the waves were actually going to be when they were coming in, because they were like 12, 15-foot waves. Absolutely just, and you're just getting smacked by them, just like on an amateur level. Like you're putting yourself in the worst position out there. Or, no, that's what we were doing. We put ourselves in the worst position possible to not even, remotely catch those waves, but like we just ended up in a bad spot. And we didn't even know that guy was out there with a helmet. So, like, anything could have happened. But at the end of the day, the only thing that ended up happening is I got a tiny little scrape on my knee, like the size of a dime. So, anything could have happened there. It's just super crazy. It's like, if you think you're ready for something like that is so intensely like life or death type, stuff there, and you're dealing with these insane elements of nature, it's like you got to do more research. And that's definitely what I found out today, because pretty much anything could have happened. But me and my friend both got out fine. The rescue jet ski didn't have to get us, even though he was looking at us pretty hard, like he, was gonna come over there. But I guess they just decided, hey, we'll just let these guys figure it out for themselves. And we sure did, but pretty much anything could have happened. It was pretty intense. And anybody who had gone out there for like their first time or something, I don't know why you would. That would be really stupid. But if I hadn't kept as calm as I did, if I had panicked and I had inhaled some water, it would have been like, joke's on you, you got 8 more seconds to be under this water, and by that point you would have, easily drowned or whatever. So if you're out here trying to surf, do all that stuff, you definitely got to just do your research, be safe, and practice more, and try to find somebody who's going to give you the heads up and pay attention to the signs, because we thought that we were looking at the signs and that they weren't as red flag as they were. But yeah, and we also were looking out from a distance at those waves going, oh, those aren't that big, they're about like that big, right? And as soon as you get out there, you realize they're like 15, 20 foot, like 10 to 15 feet. It's pretty big for somebody who hasn't been surfing for that long at all. Also with the wrong type of board. So, pretty crazy. But if you ever do something like that, if you ever start messing with this stuff, you come out here to Oahu, just be very careful. And definitely don't try to do what we did, even though that should be obvious. But